What's up, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and welcome back to the channel. Today we continue our coverage post-release of Multiverse of Madness. Apparently there were some major cameos slated for Multiverse of Madness that did not make the final theatrical cut. Some major universe-altering cameos that again would have added a lot to the story. Cameos of Multiverse of Madness is essentially relegated to the group known as the Illuminati, with various variants of prominent characters from the mainline Marvel 616 universe in this brand new universe of Earth 838. Not to mention the first Marvel on-screen appearance, at least in the MCU, of Reed Richards, played by John Krasinski. Of course though, this is not the mainline MCU Reed Richards, but it is Earth 838's version. Not to mention Patrick Stewart returning as Professor Charles Xavier for yet another film appearance. However, today we have a brand new report to share with you guys that indicates that there were two prominent cameos that were cut from Multiverse of Madness. Those two characters were of course Deadpool, who we'll discuss at length, as well as Magneto himself, played by Michael Fassbender. So let's go ahead and break down everything that we know. This article comes from MCU Direct, with the source being the Weekly Planet podcast. This is the full quote. James Clement from the Weekly Planet podcast revealed that Marvel was planning Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool to appear in a post-credit scene for Multiverse of Madness. Clement noted that one of his sources informed him of 5 different characters and the scenes that they had filmed, but ultimately that they were cut from the final version of the film, including the MCU's Prime version of Baron Mordo, who again was cut, also mentioning Michael Fassbender's Magneto and a couple of other characters. He also shared information on Deadpool near the end of his remarks on the topic. This is the full quote from the podcast. Somebody sent me a list of 5 characters that were going to be in this film but were ultimately cut. So apparently the Wanda killing MCU Mordo, that was a real leak, and that was something that was actually going to happen. Michael Fassbender was also going to turn up as Magneto. I asked my source if any of this was actually filmed but ultimately cut from the theatrical version, and he did indeed confirm that they were scenes that had been filmed. Balder the Brave was also mentioned, though not given by name. Ghost Rider, which is very interesting as a member of the Illuminati, as in the podcast it later goes on to say that Ghost Rider was apparently also going to be a member of the Illuminati. In the podcast, James is very much under the impression that most of these cameos, with the exception of Deadpool, were all going to be Illuminati members. Of course, minus the mainline MCU Mordo, who apparently his arc was going to be wrapped up when Wanda would actually try to kill him, and ultimately succeed. Again though, apparently Magneto as well as Ghost Rider were also going to be members of the Illuminati, not just small cameos and people that make appearances throughout the multiverse, with the exception of Deadpool, who, according to the same podcast, was actually going to be in the post-credit scene of Multiverse of Madness. This is interesting as some people indicated that they actually believed that the post-credit scene had been reshot for Multiverse of Madness, and the big stinger at the end was initially supposed to be something else entirely, instead of Bruce Campbell making yet another appearance. Apparently, it was going to be Deadpool himself, with Wade Wilson commenting on the Multiverse of Madness. According to the report, Deadpool wasn't actually going to show up until this post-credit scene. But yes, apparently there were some major cameos cut from Multiverse of Madness, with the 3 biggest confirmed ones here, that being Ghost Rider, Magneto, as well as Deadpool. The other 2 characters were the mainline version of Mordo, as well as Balder the Brave. I would ultimately be interested into why exactly Marvel decided to cut these characters. I think it all comes down to basically they had too many Illuminati members and they needed to cut down the roster, as well as may have decided to include these characters in other places in the MCU, as again the multiversal saga is far from over. Still though, it would have been great to see characters such as Ghost Rider played yet again by Nicolas Cage, even though I don't really think he fits in the roster of the Illuminati as portrayed in 838. Although again, this is an alternate universe and anything is possible. I also do think it's odd that we didn't get a lot of development of the mainline Mordo and that he didn't even appear in Multiverse of Madness, but again, since these films were deleted, Mordo is still very much out there and likely very much still could appear down the line in the mainline MCU as a future threat. In the end though, I think Michael Fassbender as Magneto would have also been interesting to see, and the relationship between Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier and then a younger Magneto. Perhaps the 2 of them are friends and it's sort of like a father-son relationship. Along with this idea, it's even possible that Magneto in Earth 838 is even the father of Wanda Maximoff, and there could have been this whole deep relationship between Professor X sort of serving as a grandfather for Wanda and Michael Fassbender's Magneto as the Scarlet Witch's father, creating this sort of unspoken familial bond. Talking a little more about Deadpool though, a few months ago we got a report that Deadpool 3 was actively being written at Marvel Studios, and that it's likely that Deadpool will actually appear as a Phase 5 Marvel film to get his third solo outing. It will branch his adventures from the Fox X-Men universe into the mainline Marvel universe. The thing here again is that the multiversal saga is still very much continuing, and it's likely that we can see these characters later down the line, potentially in an Ant-Man film, or even in a Loki season 2. Again, the multiverse is still very much breaking open, and the saga has not totally concluded yet. It's been widely revealed that Marvel is introducing these various characters into Multiverse of Madness, mainly Reed Richards, to gauge audience interest in those characters. As while the Fantastic Four films in the past have definitely made money, they haven't been massively lucrative for Marvel. Not to mention that both the fans as well as the critic perception of the Fantastic Four films have been very poor. That is why Marvel sort of stuck their toe in the water here with Reed Richards as well as other characters. Other characters such as Black Bolt from the Inhumans. The inclusion of these other characters likely would have served a similar purpose. In conclusion though, it seems as if Marvel determined that this was too many cameos to fit into one film and that it was overshadowing what they were trying to complete with the story as well as the other cameos, which is likely why these characters were cut. But anyway, watchers, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on these apparently filmed deleted scenes from Multiverse of Madness? What are your thoughts on characters like Magneto, Ghost Rider, and even Deadpool cut from the final cut of the film? And do you think that Marvel should have kept these included, or was this ultimately a wise business decision? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope you have a great day.